Hi there. So recently I was at the MCN Motorbike show in London and I met Max Adams from Venhill. He's given me some tools to help make this brake bleed go really easily, even one-handed. Come take a look. I'm going to put a link for this in the description so you can take a look. I like the fact it comes in a nice solid case. I think that keeps it nice and safe and secure. And opening it up, the quality is amazing. So the vacuum pump itself is made out of metal, so not any of that plastic bits, and I like the rubberized coating around the gauge as well. It's got a lot of extra accessories and it comes with a whole series of instructions as well, and you've got the extra tubing. Brake fluid should be changed every 2 years. It's really nasty stuff to paintwork, so whilst you're working on your bike, make sure you put plenty of rags around any areas that there could be any kind of spillage. The front master cylinder, it's a straightforward Phillips screw to take that safety catch off. Brake fluid is nasty corrosive stuff, so from here on out we're on gloves. So you've got the plastic top part here, we'll take that off. And then you've got the rubber diaphragm. Important to make sure, because this is what's going to provide the seal between the air and moisture and your brake fluid, so really important to inspect that closely, make sure that there's no cracks, no perishing, and replace it if you do find any. Wow, check out the colour of that brake fluid, definitely time for a change. You'll notice here just on this bottom part there's a small hole here, and that's where the fluid drains through when we squeeze on the lever. So what we're going to do is we're going to flush the system, so we're going to keep this fluid in here and we're going to top it up with fresh. So we're going to allow the old fluid to drain down through the system, which is how we're going to use the vacuum pump, and we're going to keep topping it up then with fresh fluid. So when we do this, we've got to be really mindful that we don't let this drop below that hole there, because if it does, we're going to introduce a whole load of air into the system and a whole load of work. Very easy to set up and assemble. So we've got the Vampire brake bleed kit, which we've got the main pump part here with the gauge, we've got the small hose then going to the reservoir. So as we pull the old brake fluid through, it's going to collect in this reservoir. So again, there's no spillage. And at the end, this is one of my favourite things, it's actually got a dedicated bleed nipple cap, so it'll literally just fit over nice and securely. We start by taking the dust cover off the bleed nipple, and then with an 8mm spanner that will just sit on that nut there, and that will allow us to open and close. With the handy end on this, that fits over snugly and securely. Now we've got everything connected, we just pump up the handle, and we're looking for between 15 and 20 psi, and what that's going to do is it's going to draw the fluid down into that reservoir. Using the spanner, we just turn it now a quarter to half a turn. Now if you haven't opened yours for a while, they may be quite stiff. And you can see there the brake fluid draining through there nicely. Big watch out, of course, make sure you're keeping an eye on that top reservoir. So we've drained quite a lot of fluid from the top master reservoir now, so we're going to top that back up again. So then we're going to repeat the process. So we pump up the gauge, open the valve, watch the fluid drain through. As the fluid drains through, the pressure will come down on the pump, and then we'll close that off, rebuild back up the pressure again, and then open up the tap again. So one more time on that procedure. Pump, open. Watch the pressure on the gauge as that drops, and it's putting the fluid through. Close it off, pump. We can now start to see that it's the clear fluid, the new fluid that's starting to come through, so we are flushed. The old brake fluid is highly corrosive stuff, so make sure you don't just pour this down the sink, it needs to go into a marked container and disposed of properly. So we've got the air out of the brake, so I'm just going to do one last final top up of the brake fluid to the upper level. Replace the diaphragm first, that's it, and then the little plastic top part, and then screw that lid on neatly. Last tip then, what I've done is I've tied the brake lever closed. So although we've taken all the air out of the system, which is fantastic, if there's any air trapped perhaps up in any of these sort of tubing or cables or behind anything here, by holding the brake it will just slowly force all the air up into this master cylinder, because we don't want anything in the brakes. I'll leave that overnight and take that off in the morning, and then we'll have perfect brakes again. Excellent, well that's it, that's the brake fluid change, and I've got to say a big thank you to the team at Venhill for giving me such an incredible tool that made that job, even one-handed, very, very straightforward. Thanks guys.